Happy birthday to us!
Hello, everyone. This is Harp
And Maura.
and we're here with your Culips English Learning Podcast. As of March 2012, Culips is 4 years old, and we wanted to celebrate with you.
Thanks so much for listening and for all your support over the years. So much of what we do here at Culips is online, so we wanted to try something a little different to mark this special occasion.
Everyone loves getting a postcard in the mail, right? So we'd like to send some out to our listeners, and we'd love to get some postcards from you too.
So here's our idea. Send us a postcard from wherever you are in the world, and we'll send you one back from beautiful Montreal, Canada, with a handwritten message from either myself, Maura, or Harp.
Exactly. So there are two ways to do this. You can either send us a postcard to our mailing address, and you can find that address either on Facebook or on our website, culips.com, or you can send us an email at contact@culips.com with your address.
Don't forget to include your name, your full mailing address, and any personal note to us that you'd like to add. And make sure you choose, or make, a great looking card because we'll be posting some images of them.
In April, we'll choose 5 of our favorite postcards or emails to receive a free 1-year Culips membership. So be sure to keep an eye on culips.com and our Facebook page in April to see if you're a winner.
So drop us a line by mail or email and get a one-of-a-kind reply with our personal touch. Hope to hear from you soon. Now, today's episode is a Chatterbox episode, and that is where Harp and I chat about some topic of interest. And today we are going to chat about
Sports.
That's right. Harp and I are going to talk about sports. First, we're going to talk about sports that are popular in Canada.
Yep, and then we're going to talk about traditions for watching sports.
And lastly, we're going to talk about our own stories playing sports and growing up with sports.
Excellent. Let's get started, Maura.
All right. So I feel like if we're going to talk about popular sports in Canada, we should start with hockey.
Of course. Hockey is like the Canadian sport. It is the sport that most Canadians are obsessed with.
Right. And if you were a little boy in Canada, you probably played hockey. A lot of boys in Canada grew up playing hockey.
And now even a lot of girls are playing hockey. It's really the national sport.
And one thing we should mention, if you didn't know and if you've never played hockey, it's actually really expensive.
Yeah, hockey is a very expensive sport to play, especially for kids because they're growing and every year they need new skates and new equipment.
I've heard that hockey equipment, like everything that you need to play ice hockey, can cost more than $1,000.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it is very expensive, but it's a very Canadian sport, and so lots of parents pay that much money for their kids to play.
Yeah, definitely. And now there are a lot of organizations that help with poor families who can't afford for their kids to play.
Yep. Well, another popular sport in Canada is football.
Yeah, surprisingly, football is very popular in Canada. And when we say football, we mean American-style football. We don't mean soccer right now. Soccer is getting very popular, but we mean American football.
Right, we're talking about that sport with that brown kind of oval-shaped ball. That's the one we're talking about. We have the NFL, which is the National Football League that's American, and many people watch those games on TV in Canada. But we also have the CFL, the Canadian Football League. So we actually have our own Football League with just teams in Canada that play.
Yep. And there's the Super Bowl, which is the big finale for the NFL, which is the National Football League in the US. The Grey Cup, which is the big finale for the Canadian Football League, which are teams just in Canada. And then we have the NHL, which is the National Hockey League, and they have the Stanley Cup finals. And the interesting thing for the NHL is that it's hockey teams from both Canada and the US, and they play each other all year. And then the Stanley Cup is the last two best teams playing against each other.
So hockey and football are probably two of the most popular sports in Canada, but people like all different kinds of sports. There are Canadians who love to play basketball and baseball and volleyball.
Yeah. And my dad, he loves to watch all sports. So when I go home to visit him, sometimes we're watching golf, sometimes we're watching basketball, sometimes it's hockey, everything.
There are a lot of sports on TV now that you're mentioning it.
It's true.
Another sporting event that's very popular in Canada is the Winter Olympics. And that would be because we're not so bad at them. We have a long winter. We have a lot of places to practice outdoor sports. And so the Winter Olympics are quite popular here.
Very popular. The Summer Olympics are popular, but we just don't do very well in them.
I have another theory as to why the Winter Olympics are more popular.
Because people are at home and cold and watching TV?
Exactly. Because it's winter here, we are inside, and people watch more TV in the winter. In the summer, it's beautiful, so we're outside and we're not at home watching the Olympics as much.
That's true. Yeah. And I think the reason why we love the Winter Olympics is because the Canadian hockey teams in the Olympics are so good.
Yes, we always want to see the hockey team go for gold.
Yeah, people in Canada love watching hockey. There's even something called Hockey Night in Canada.
Right. And it's the evening where you sit down and you watch a hockey game. And also, there's a very controversial sports commentator, Don Cherry. He's a very famous Canadian, always giving his opinion about hockey.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Don Cherry is that he's always wearing these really bright and sometimes hilarious outfits. Like he'll wear a bright blue sparkly suit jacket.
Did you know that he actually has his suits custom made for him?
I'm sure, because I don't think you can buy those suits in a normal store.
Yeah, they're really strange. And even the collars of his shirt are extra high. It's not a normal shirt.
He's got a special style.
Yeah, we should post a picture and a little bit more information so you can get a taste of what he's all about.
Yeah.
So, of course, when you think of Canada, you think of hockey. And it is one of our official sports. But we have another summer sport, which you might not have heard of.
Yes, our official summer sport is lacrosse.
Yeah. And lacrosse is played with a special kind of piece of equipment that is like a net on the end of a stick. And there's a ball in the net and you pass it to players and you try to score just like you would in hockey or soccer.
We'll post some pictures so you can see. But it's interesting because lacrosse was created over 500 years ago by some First Nations in Canada. So it's really a Canadian sport.
Right. And now all kinds of different people play it. And they have professional teams in the big cities in Canada.
I remember playing it in school. Did you play it in school?
I've never played it.
You've never played lacrosse? I'm shocked.
No, I never did.
Wow.
But I've seen some games and it looks pretty tough.
It's very tough. I had an injury. A boy hit me in the arm with a lacrosse stick. Not on purpose, but I remember getting injured.
All right, so those are some of the sports that are popular to play and watch in Canada. Now, let's look at some of the traditions around watching sports. It wasn't too long ago that there was the Super Bowl.
Yep. And soon it'll be the Stanley Cup. And then in the fall, there's the Grey Cup. People like watching sports, and the big championships are the exciting times when people get together with their friends and they make a whole evening of it.
That's right. I would say some people even make a whole day of it. They get together in the afternoon and they sit around and eat junk food all day. They really chow down.
Yeah, it's a day when you're kind of allowed to pig out and eat lots of junk food like chicken wings and nachos, and you're just eating a lot of junk food.
That's the part that I like about it.
Me too. I don't love watching sports, but when you got all the good food, you have beer, you're with your friends, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. You're right. Now, those are some of the things that people do for really big sporting events. And if it's not a really big event where you're having a bunch of people over, and it's just one of the regular professional games on TV, you might go out to a bar or a restaurant where they're showing the game on a big screen. So sometimes people go out, have a drink, have something to eat with friends, and enjoy the game in an atmosphere where everyone is excited to watch the game.
Yeah, they have special sports bars as well where they have so many screens, so many TV screens on the walls. It's overwhelming because you can watch the game from any seat in the bar.
Right. And some places have huge screens or they project it on the wall. So it's really a big event.
Yeah, and it becomes an even bigger event when they get into the playoffs and teams are competing. People in Canada get crazy about this. Like, for example, in Montreal, when the Montreal Canadiens, the hockey team from here, gets into the playoffs, the whole sports bar could be full of fans wearing red t-shirts and hockey jerseys and everyone screaming and yelling and really excited.
I remember one year when the Canadians were doing really well. I was just walking down the street and people were honking their horns and smiling and waving at each other because everyone was just so happy that the hockey team was doing so well.
Yeah, for sure.
So you could enjoy the game at home, you could enjoy it out with friends, and you also could go live and watch a sporting event in person.
Yeah, I love watching sports live. I think it's fun. You get in the atmosphere, everyone's there and watching it, you can hear the sounds. And I love eating a hot dog at sports games, any kind. Baseball games, hockey games, football games. Anytime I go live to watch a game, I need to eat a hot dog.
I agree that if you're watching a sport live, maybe not necessarily a hot dog, but you got to eat something. You got to enjoy some of that auditorium or ballpark food. Like you could have nachos or, again, hamburgers, hot dogs. It's always something greasy.
For sure. You can have lots of different types, but for me, it's always a hot dog. And you know, a funny story is when I was living in South Korea, I went to go watch a soccer game. It was the local Suwon team, and it was a huge stadium. And one of my teachers, who was Korean and a big fan, took us to go watch it. And I was really excited because I was going to eat my hot dog. And I don't think I really realized that, okay, I'm in South Korea, because the only food they had there was noodles. I think it was because it was a smaller home game, but I had some noodles and it was delicious.
So depending on where you go, you're going to have a different kind of food when you're watching a sport. If you go in Canada or even in the US, you're going to get hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries, nachos, pizza.
Greasy food.
Greasy but delicious. All right, now let's talk about our last subject.
Sports that we grew up playing.
So sports that Harp and I played when we were younger growing up.
And this one's going to be funny because neither of us is very athletic.
That is right.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was a bit of a bookworm, so my parents definitely had to push me to go out and play sports.
I remember the first sport that I played that my parents signed me up for was soccer.
Oh yeah, that's fun. How old were you?
Very young. I think probably 6 years old or something. And I think that Soccer is a good sport for young kids because the concept is pretty easy. Get the ball to the other side and score in the goal.
Soccer, I find, has become even more and more popular in Canada. I find so many young kids are playing it these days, and you're right, it's kind of a simple sport to pick up in the beginning before you need to know all the rules about it.
Right. So I played when I was young, and I also played on the soccer team when I was in elementary school. But to be honest, I think the only reason I was on the team was because not enough girls tried out.
So you were picked because you were there?
Yep, I made an effort. It was fun though.
Did you travel to other schools and play there?
I remember actually having big tournaments. So instead of a lot of little games, they were just full days of a lot of games.
Yeah, when I was young, I played basketball. Really, in reality, I played it for 1 year when I was in grade 7. I was 12 years old, and we did the same thing. We had tournaments, so it was for the full weekend, and you played a lot of different games.
Often when you see a tall person, you think, oh, did you play basketball? That's such a stereotype because Harp is tall.
No, it's funny because as soon as we started growing and my dad realized how tall we were, he put a basketball hoop outside. I was the only one who played, and I only played for 1 year, much to my dad's disappointment.
I actually liked basketball when I was younger too, but I'm not tall, and as I already said, didn't have much skill, so that didn't really go very far.
No, exactly. That's why I lasted 1 year.
I think if I had made the basketball team, I would have been benched a lot. Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, I actually played badminton when I was young as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I loved it. It's such a fun sport. I still like to play it now.
I really like to play it too, but I never played it when I was younger.
Yeah, it was the same thing as basketball where we would have tournaments and we played a lot of games. So I played singles, I played doubles, I played mixed doubles. It was fun.
Cool. You know, I don't really have that many other memories playing sports. The only other memory I have is being, again, pretty young and having to play baseball in Phys Ed. So when my class would do gym and we played baseball, I would normally be in the outfield. And I just remember being so bored and not even paying attention to the game, just looking at the grass.
Yeah, I remember having the same memory. I was really bad at baseball, so they always put me really far away.
Exactly. So, anyways, it's a funny memory now.
Yeah, but in school growing up, we played a lot of different sports in gym.
That's true. We probably tried most of the ones that we mentioned. I played volleyball, I played soccer, baseball for sure.
I've never played hockey in my whole life, though.
That's true. I've played field hockey or floor hockey, but not ice hockey, which is really what we mean when we say hockey in Canada.
Yeah, no, I've never played any type of hockey.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, maybe we'll get out there this winter, Harp.
I think I'll be busy.
It's funny because now when someone asks me if I play any sports, the answer I usually give is foosball.
That's not a real sport.
I know, but I say it because it's kind of funny and really, I don't play any other sports.
Do you want to explain to everyone what foosball is?
Yeah. So foosball is like soccer, but you're playing it on a table. So there's no physical activity other than moving your wrists around and controlling the players. I usually play foosball if I go out to a bar that has a foosball table, or you could also see foosball tables at arcades, and some lucky people have them at home.
That's so not a sport. I cannot believe that this is what you tell people.
I know it's not a sport, but really, I love playing foosball, and I'm not that bad.
I know. I remember playing with you now at your birthday.
Okay, so I think that about does it for the sports.
Yes, so let's do a quick recap. We started with talking about popular sports that are watched and played in Canada.
And then we talked about different traditions and things that people do when they watch sports, either at home, out at a bar with friends or at the actual event.
Yep, and then we finished with sports that we played when we were growing up.
And I have to say, I'm sorry it couldn't have been more exciting or interesting, but Harp and I just didn't play that many sports.
No.
If your country has a really popular sport that we didn't talk about it, let us know. Post it on Facebook.
And let us know what kind of sports you grew up playing.
Yeah. And don't forget to go to our website, culips.com. That's culips.com, and check out all we have to offer there.
Yeah, because at the website, you can become a member. And when you're a member, you have access to the learning materials. And each learning material includes a complete transcript, a detailed explanation, and even a quiz.
That's right. And if you're on Facebook, check us out there too.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.